Everybody should be putting reading more on their 2026 resolutions list. So in honor of that, I'm going to tell you 6 books you should read in 2026 if you want to learn more about the partition and South Asian history. Because honestly, one of my most frequently asked questions is, can you recommend a couple of books for us to read to be a little more educated? So I'm going to give 6 book recommendations on the topic, and they're all very different from each other, but I think they all provide a unique perspective. I actually have some of these books on my bookshelf, and the first one I do. This one is pretty well known. It's called Train to Pakistan, and it's by Khushwant Singh. I really like this one because it kind of pulls you into the village by village experience of what partition was like. It's a love story, so it's not like you're reading a history textbook. You're actually getting pulled in and you're invested in the characters' lives. This one is pretty famous, and for a good reason. I feel like it's a really good entry-level book. And the next one I would recommend I checked out of a library, so I don't have it on my shelf, but it's called The Other Side of Silence by Urvashi Batalia. This book focuses on the oral history passed down about women's experiences during the partition, and it shows that it wasn't just a political issue, it was a gendered issue as well. I feel like sometimes when we talk about partition, we don't really cover the fact that women were disproportionately affected, as they are in a lot of other political issues. This next one is the biography of Nehru by Shashi Tharoor. I think as someone who's Pakistani, who grew up her whole life learning about Muhammad Ali Jinnah, it was so fascinating to learn about Nehru as a leader. And surprisingly, reading this book gave me such a holistic experience on resistance against the British and what it was like at the time. In fact, Nehru was jailed multiple times for his resistance against the British. Okay, next I would recommend Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, who I know is a controversial writer, but this book was one of the first ones that I was recommended to read about partition. And I don't want to spoil it, but the plot has to do with someone being born at the exact stroke of midnight during partition, and it includes magical realism, and I just really thought it was like an interesting way to explain partition and all the intertwined groups and history behind it. Okay, next I would recommend this book. It's called The Other in the Mirror, and it's by Seher Mirza, and it's a bunch of short stories about India and Pakistan and all the divisive politics we're seeing regarding India and Pakistan in today's world. Books like this hopefully change the perspective of a lot of readers. It's a bunch of short stories that talk about people's lives on each side of the border, and in some of them they actually show how intertwined they are. Lastly, I would recommend Cracking India by Babsi Sidhwa. This book shows partition through a child's eyes in Lahore, and I also really liked this one because it's one of the only canonical texts relating to partition from a woman's memory and from a woman's perspective. I tried to split up these 6 books between people from both sides of the border. I also want to do a separate episode on like Bangladesh and books about that, but if you guys end up reading any of these, please let me know your thoughts.